You're listening to Myers-Briggs Question Corner with Edythe Richards.
In my last podcast, I talked about how the best leaders can be any one of the 16 Myers-Briggs types. Effective leaders all have qualities that aren't measured by the Myers-Briggs, such as integrity, and that some Myers-Briggs types naturally gravitate towards leadership roles more than others. Today, I'd like to take a closer look at the leadership styles of specific Myers-Briggs types. Before I start, I need to reiterate that a limitation of the Myers-Briggs instrument is that it doesn't predict behavior or ability to do a job. As such, it cannot and should not be used as a gatekeeper for any area of leadership or as a tool to evaluate which leaders are the most effective or suitable for a leadership role. There are other instruments that evaluate leadership potential, but the Myers-Briggs isn't one of them. Back to our question. Which personality types make the best leaders? A few years back, CPP, publishers of the Myers-Briggs instrument, conducted a study of 123,000 leaders and a distribution of personality types among these leaders. The results of the study indicated that all 16 types lead, and all 16 types were represented in leadership roles. The highest percentage of leaders from any one type, however, should come as no surprise. ESTJ, followed closely by ISTJ. Third and fourth are ENTJ and ENTP, respectively. Fifth and sixth are ENFP and INTJ. Therefore, according to this data, the 6 Myers-Briggs types that are most likely to take on leadership roles are ESTJ, ISTJ, ENTJ, ENTP, ENFP, and INTJ. Let's try to make sense of this. Thinking and judging types are often overrepresented in leadership roles precisely because most organizations and leadership positions favor the logical, rational, and decisive behaviors that come most easily to thinking judging types. Now, this is for folks familiar with Jungian type dynamics and the cognitive functions. Most of the types that I mention here also use extroverted thinking as either a dominant or auxiliary function. This function is all about using logic to get things done. ESTJ, ISTJ, ENTJ, and INTJ, all of whom are overrepresented in leadership roles in many organizations, consistently use extroverted thinking. Some of the features of extroverted thinking include adopting or developing standards to guide decisions, applying logic to policies and procedures, creating and maintaining efficient and practical systems, and seeking clarity and order in the environment. ENFP also uses extroverted thinking, but in a tertiary or third spot, which means ENFP types aren't naturally going to place as much emphasis on thinking as they do on feeling. ENTP types and ENFP types use extroverted intuition as their dominant function. This function is all about brainstorming and coming up with unique ideas. Therefore, ENFP and ENTP types will bring this to their leadership roles or will be attracted to roles where they're able to create future possibilities and suggest multiple options. Leadership itself is highly context-specific. So once again, the Myers-Briggs can be an excellent tool for coaching leaders and helping them understand how their individual type preferences influence the way they, as leaders, shape the culture of their organization. The preference, particularly for the middle 2 letters of one's Myers-Briggs type, are especially telling in terms of the style they most value. In a white paper published by CPP, 4 cultural patterns of leadership based on Myers-Briggs preferences were identified. Every leader tends to favor one of these 4 patterns. SF, or sensing feeling types, tend to value cooperation. ST leaders favor consistency, NF favor inspiration, and NT favor achievement. All of these preference combinations, cooperation, consistency, inspiration, and achievement, have leadership merit and are qualities that effective leaders possess. On the other hand, leaders who have a high preference for one style over another run the risk of overemphasizing that pattern to the detriment of the organization. For example, achievement-focused intuitive thinking leaders may, in their overemphasis on high performance and excellence, create an organization that is cold and overly ambitious to the extent that it's not employee-centric. Different situations require different leadership styles, and different organizational cultures lead themselves to different personality types being more successful than other types. Regardless of one's Myers-Briggs type, we can all learn the importance of balance. Research has shown us again and again that high-performing organizations and successful leaders all have one important thing in common: the drive for continuous improvement and striving for optimal balance in their organizational culture. Appropriate use of the Myers-Briggs will coach leaders to first adjust themselves before transforming their organization. The purpose of the Myers-Briggs is to enhance self-awareness, and in doing so, leaders can see how their preferences influence the way they shape their organizational culture. To sum it up, though ESTJs, ISTJs, ENTJs, and INTJs may naturally possess the inherent qualities to rise to leadership positions, this doesn't mean that they're better leaders than any other Myers-Briggs type. There is no best leader without context. The Myers-Briggs doesn't predict leadership performance or effectiveness. Exceptional leaders aren't born, but they can be developed.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you'd like to hear more, or you'd like to submit a question yourself, then you can find us at www.atopcareer.com. Until next time. MBTI and Myers-Briggs are registered trademarks of the MBTI Trust.